understand your agents, your agency against yourself. No different than if somebody was doing business in your name. No matter where they go around the world, they sign that name that don't belong to them. Why do you think persons that are called black, Negroes, and coloreds can't vote unless every second praetor of the corporation after the Senate of the House of Rome decides whether they want their cattle to vote with them names that belong to them? Why do you think it only applies to persons who think they're minorities? It doesn't apply to other human beings around the world. It only applies to persons who insist on trying to be somebody that they're not. And no matter how many generations that takes place, they're dead in law. That's what makes you a corpse. That's where the ens legis comes from. Do you understand? That's the 14th Amendment person. And that's why they gave the corpse the word person with the 14th Amendment. So then people get confused who can't read law. They see this a person and don't know a corporation's a person's too. And so they send them statements of account in the mail with capital letters on it, which means person, corporation, and then you agree to be the corpse. And so as soon as you start making an argument, you're already dead in the view of the law, and because you accept it as a bill, which it isn't, you're obligated to pay. When actually it should be discharged, because you're under occupation. Of course, if you didn't know that, you're going to act like you're a debtor. Do you see the problem? You see the problem? Clearfield Doctrine. Go ahead.
Well, I got a question.
Go ahead.
So the corporations have been given the rights of people.
14th Amendment. In other words, when they did the spurious 14th Amendment, which was actually set up by field marshals, this was a disguise. See, because when you go into, you know, like why people are familiar when you talk about 40 acres and a mule. If you ask them to set some substance around it, informationally, most of them couldn't tell you.
The racist white man is mule. I want my mule. I want my 40 acres.
Ask them the substance around it, they can't tell you, which makes them incompetent. Now we're dealing with the 3630 parallel. We're dealing with, they would have to give us, repatriate the people on the land between the Rockies and the Allegheny Mountains, and they recognized that they would have given most of the land back. So they bumped off Lincoln, covered that up, etc., created the 14th Amendment, and created the artificial corpse person. Then they needed some nigger marching preachers to convince you to be people of color, which means artificial persons, and make you think it means Afrocentricity. And you agreed to be 14th Amendment persons, which is listed as called U.S. citizen.
So what do you say about the people who try to use their corporate or their corp status as a tool and try to gain the advantages of a corporation would have?
Well, when natural persons do that, they have a consciousness of the secret treaty of Verona and the Spanish Inquisition, which is the real political background that's operating in the world, and particularly in North America. And so they're reclaiming the estate or the access to the estate, although they didn't create it, to have some cognate control over it. That's what that's about. And so usually they will authenticate the birth certificate, which is where the priesthood, the dark priesthood, the people our people trust, that told them separation of church and state, they're agents for Rome. You can go in any poor community, you go, before you get 3 blocks that way, before you get 3 or 4 blocks that way, before you get 3 or 4 blocks that way, before you get 3 or 4 blocks that way, you'll find a spy center. And they fund them themselves. They think it has something to do with Jesusness. They're spy centers. And they belong to the Jesuits of Rome. Actually. And you're funding your own enslavement. Our people think Christianity means Jesusness. It means Constantine. The Niceno-Constantinopolitan Creed is the official name of what is presented to you as Christianity. And it belongs to the popes of Rome. It's a business hegemony system. And the skull and bones agreement for the marching Negro leader guys who you think don't know this stuff is called a 501c3 agreement. And because our people don't read and they don't understand, and say that's a 501c3, that's what the preachers get for teaching the word. They do. These so-called intelligent people that know God, Jesus, Allah, and Muhammad and everything. Yeah, man. See, because when you teach the word, you get a 501c3 agreement. See, and then the tithe is 10% for God's word. That 10% tax is Roman tax from Pope Sylvester II. You know, our people are so out to damn lunch. And the real horrible thing is that people you've trusted have been putting this on you and your generations, and this is where your suffering comes from. It really is. Come from the dark priesthood that you think love godness and Jesusness. Yes.
Going back to the brother's question here, what I'd like to know, is it practical to try to straddle the fence based on the question that he
Good
asked?
question. Say that again for everybody. Is it practical
to straddle the fence?
All right.
Based on my understanding of what his question was.
Well, let's put it this way, and we'll qualify it too. I think it's long been stated that you can't serve two masters.
Absolutely.
And that's called straddling the fence. It's quite difficult because you give jurisdiction trying to claim jurisdiction. Therefore, you must be clear on jurisdiction. This is why we've always taught jurisdiction. The nature of jurisdiction, the structure of jurisdiction, the trinity of jurisdiction, status, jurisdiction venue, then adjudication. Then there's what? How many types of jurisdiction? 3 in general, although there's 4, but in general 3.
Subject matter.
In personam jurisdiction, subject matter jurisdiction, territorial jurisdiction. Therefore, you must know the aggregate. You must know nation states, because they know our people don't know that. And so when you talk about territorial jurisdiction, they say, yeah, I was in Jersey last week. What? You wasn't? Yes, I was. This is a corporation created on paper. You know, you can't drive in Maryland. Why? Maryland is a corporation. It's on paper. So you must talk about the aggregate land. That's why you got to start claiming your land. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Our people need to know the difference between corporations and the natural living, breathing beings and the organic land. And if you don't have claim on the land, then they put you in the corporation because you're listed as a corpse. That's why when they do those licenses, they put all capital letters because it's in the ens legis. Point. But this is what I say. This is what I say. As an example, people, Asiatics and Europeans too, and probably mostly Europeans because the middle class is being dissolved, so they're starting to expose more stuff. How many of you are aware of Lincoln Heights and some other townships or places in Ohio? And there's other places they ain't mentioned too around the country where they shut down the police departments. They had to park the cars. You know why? People starting to learn. They're starting to go after them bonds. And they start putting these people first person. They don't say the police department did it to me. They said Freddie Johnson doing business as a policeman without a bond was messing with me. And they tried to get me to pay a ticket. But I went in there and told the magistrate who pretended to be a judge, I can't even get paid. Everybody else was paid. What's up? It's a securities. Isn't it? So this is more or less what's happening. But that's how you're supposed to look at it. Because it's an estate. That's how you... So you're not so much serving two masters. You need to understand you have an estate that they've been hiding and controlling under color of law. Go ahead. So that fine line, so this is what we're doing. We're trying to clarify things so that people can make the distinction between the fine line. Because it's easy to step over the line. Because you got to know the difference between person and person. It's a nuance, isn't it? And so what happens if these persons don't know the organic person from the corpse. Well, I'm Frankie, and I want a peanut butter sandwich. You know, or just like you said up here as an example, we can put an organic plant up here with dirt in it, growing nicely, and then we can get this plastic plant from Kmart and tell the people, come up here, we're going to test everybody, come water the plants. And then we'll see who puts water in both of them. And you know the one who puts water in both of them is either an imbecile or they're a minority. They got the mentality of a minor. That person cannot present themselves. They would be represented by a barrister from England, because apparently they got the mind of a minor. They'd be listed as a minor, particularly if they start talking about human beings with crayons. First indicator. So we got to clean that mess up for real, because that's what's messing our people up. Partially, it's other things, but those things are keys. And those are code systems that the European quickly tells who his property is. Because a human being will never dishonor his mother and his father, for he recognizes his pedigree. So you'll never see a Chinese come up here and talk about where's the light-skinned yellow guy's organization. Never happened. He ain't giving up his birthright. So when you see grown people run up, you know, my light-skinned black girlfriend, that's property. And they confess it out their own mouth. Who you? Joey Smith. And I'm Christian too. Oh, all right. Black codes, and then they get mad. That's what the black codes are for. Such persons outside of human family. However, it doesn't apply to nationals. That's why you see nationals come from around the other parts of the world. That crap don't apply to them. So they're not burned with that nigger tax. Are we clear? And it's structured right in society. It's not even hidden. It is just these people, you know, they're hard-headed. You tell them that human beings are crayon? Uh-huh. My uncle's black. Yes? Well, you can take them right to a dictionary. Heritage Dictionary, and you'll see black is Middle English. It don't go past 1100. And then somebody telling you ancient black anything, then it'll say derived from Old High German. Then it'll tell you it means pale and shining. Ain't got nothing to do with complexion. I'm black. Oh, you're a Paleolithic man? Because that's where it comes from. Paleolithic man is German. Our people can't even read. You know, so no, somebody who's taking advantage of you is not going to argue with you. They're going to say, Ritalin. I'm serious. And so the codes apply, and then when they enforce the code, then we will call them racist. Well, race is called the species. I think the human species is called the race, and the human race is broken down into multiple families called nations. You can go to the United Nations, you can go on World Courts, you can go to Philadelphia, and you'll see the flags that represent the nations of the earth. People in the light-skinned, orange-skinned, pinstripe people, and don't matter what color you are, flag. The only people think that are people have the mentality of children. Of course, they need to be represented by a man, particularly whose name they use in any daggone way. And they're going to tell you about their special personal connection with God and Jesus-ness. All right, anyway, go ahead.
So
get the point, y'all.
Right on.
Go ahead.
So acting the inappropriate persona in your proper person, claiming
that sets up a foundation that doesn't cure.
Okay.
In other words, what we're doing, this is what we're doing. This is what we're doing. We're cleaning the dirty table so that you can begin to eat.
Gotcha.
It doesn't mean that you're qualified. It's cleaning the foundation. That foundation in law is referred to as honor versus dishonor. The principle in the common law that trumps the ens legis is the honor of your mothers and your fathers. That means the recognition of your bloodline. Therefore, honor your mothers and your fathers that your days may be longer upon the earth land. That translates into what is known as the common law. And it trumps what is called the Roman law, the civil law, and other types of law. If you cannot make a claim, competent claim, to the connection of the heritage, customs, and traditions of your ancient mothers and fathers. That means you better know something about yourself. The common law is not recognized as having any attachment to you. Are we clear? This again makes it dangerous. This is again why we keep telling people, look at these terms in law books, because if you did, you would see your own violations. And you would recognize how your leader's been playing you and why they won't give you them kind of books. They'll start talking about, you see, I ain't gonna take you serious. Let me tell you another thing. We're gonna go not only how Abdullah will give you the etymology and the historical background of the transliterations of scripts. Those scholars who really know the truth know that the whole stories that they were reconstructed in about the 21st dynasty of Hikupta, etc., ignoring the other dynasties prior to that, which were all matriarchies. And this is when you begin the stories of the Jesus type thing that you get today, and the Abraham. It's totally contemporary. And if it's not given in its proper cosmological perspective, the world is put into darkness by ignorance and thinking that that's the beginning of the world. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? And so scholars really know this, but they won't tell that because the dogma systems that they have set up, which are really dogma systems, which is counterfeit religion, would collapse overnight. This is again why all your preachers are 99% of them in secret are Masons, while denying it publicly. Same thing with all your industrialists. Same thing with all your preachers, presidents, Tom Jefferson, all them. That's why they had Korans. Do you understand? Because they're dealing with the real history. They're not looking at it either spookily, either like, oh, praise Allah, they're not really looking at it like you think they're looking at it. They're dealing with the reality. Why do you think all the Masonic orders, the Shriners, everybody got Moorish fezzes dressed in jewels and then turn around and act like they don't know who the Moors are?
Well, Moors is just another name. It goes with black and everything you want to go.
That's COINTELPRO operations. Because soon as you start claiming the birthright, those instruments start dying. Are we clear? Because everything is based on trust and estate. It's not based on money. They stole your money. You forgot that the Christians came here to steal your gold and silver, which is the money. How many generations is it going to take you to figure that out? They're dealing with movements against your estate. Are we clear? Europeans can never be the creditors because they are not the source of the estate. They've been administering over your estate under occupational powers. Are we clear? So get that clear in your head. Go ahead, good brother.
So if you present yourself not as a minority, but as the executor of that trust.
Yeah, now, look at, oh, this is really good. So whenever we're talking executor, whenever we're talking creditor, those types of terms, keep this in mind. Those are simply designations. In argument, it must be refined to a specific identification of the claimant. Are we clear? So if you'll watch how a lot of times Europeans are using those terms because because the middle class is being, and it's pretty much already, they're just using this creditor-debtor argument just loosely out there, right? Well, guess what? An occupier of somebody else's estate can't damn be the creditor. Only one can be the creditor is the heir to the estate. And everybody else is a debtor. And they ain't Americans. How about that? So we got to clear this up, mustn't we? Huh? So now, if you're going to argue creditor, the only creditor can be here in the Western Hemisphere, the Maghreb, is descendants of the Moors. You're standing on Morocco. And all of the estates and all of the instruments that the Europeans have created, that have created those T-bonds, whether the birth certificates, marriage certificates, etc., on the bodies, have been hypothecated by the Pope under the Spanish Inquisition, enforced by the Secret Treaty of Verona, reinforced by the Doctrine of Discovery, and those instruments or bulls were directed at what? the aboriginal copper complexion people who are the Americans. That's why they start altering the dictionaries. Now, these Europeans say they Americans, all you got to do is take a copper penny in its natural form, not when they polished it, and put it on the back of your hand, and tell them put one on his, so you can see who the Americans is. He black, and black means pale. You better look it up in the dictionary. You understand? We're the copper complexion people, and it ain't ebony either. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? And so you better claim your estate, claim your birthright. Keep this in mind. As you're becoming conscious and you start doing these types of activities, and you'll see brothers and sisters, anybody who comes here that has anything to offer, always pay attention to everybody. Take what is good. But don't fail to look at everything etymologically. And you better have a historical background, because history and law goes together. And if you declare to the world one time in a legal argument that you're black, you just killed the rest of your argument. You cannot have a pure glass of water and pee in it and talk about it's only a little leak. Have some. No, I don't think so. I'm not thirsty. And this is what people do when they throw that black thing in there, try to act like it is equivalent to nationalities. Do you see any civilized people around the world start talking about they light-skinned, orange-skinned, green people, and don't matter what color you are when they're dealing with the issues of the nations of the earth? You don't see nobody doing that dizzy, crazy, minor-minded, imbecilic stuff but us. And then try to talk about it spiritual. And then wonder why you keep getting screwed. And then you have leader guys keep on trying to justify it, knowing that the issue is denationalization. Because if you don't transact business in the honor of your mothers and fathers, you, by your own actions, are declared a quote-unquote stateless person. Write that down. Go ahead, good brother.
Yeah, Brother Taj. So what you're saying is right on time, because I just applied for medical school, and they asked on the application things that I wasn't aware of before taking these classes. You know, I've been coming here for like 2 years now, and so like I was confronted directly with questions like, are you a citizen? You know, your race and all these things, and I'm abiding to my indigenous, my. And
they will make what you call fixed form, and the fixed forms, and understand that's made with the census thing with Carlos Linnaeus, Blumenbach, etc. And those are the code systems where they would describe their property. But they will usually have somewhere other. Now, you're supposed to already know that that's their out from a legal perspective. But if you don't know what to do with that, meaning that if you don't know law, you don't know that that's their legal out to allow you your right to make an affidavit and attach it to the instrument. See, but if you don't know law, you would never think of doing that. And then if you don't know who you are, you're not even going to go there. But they trying to call me black when I'm light-skinned black. You know, and all that's how we do. You know, and then they'll say, oh, well, I can't be, let me say it's not Asian. It's not that, I'll just check one off. Oh, no, I don't know what that is. I ain't going to check none of them off. Then they'll fill it in for you because you're incompetent. Do you understand what I'm saying? This is very important. And it's also important when it gets into those gray areas to be well informed of the international community, the International Proclamation on the Rights of a Child, International Proclamation on Human Rights, Declaration of Rights of Indigenous People, and of course, Obama signed it to reinforce it because everybody else was ducking it. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? And so keep this in mind. Obama, the tradition. The president and his wife is leaving the country, right? Going to another jurisdictions all over the world. They're introduced together, correct? That's tradition, right? So Obama goes to Hikupta, which is Egypt, capital dominion of the Moorish Empire. Not accidental. Michelle goes to the Alhambra, last stronghold of the Moors before the Christians did the Pontifex, which is 1492, the overthrowing of Granada. Then they come back and they sign the rights of indigenous people. And then while he's in Egypt, he exposes to the world one of the best protected Masonic secrets, and he says the United States Constitution is derived from Muslim law. Then he goes into Article 11 of the Treaty of Tripoli. Of course, you all know, from the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli. You hear the song, and he's sending codes. Then they come back and sign the rights of indigenous people, and you see him walking through the double doors with the Moorish flag, big as day, on the left of them. And then our people say, hey, Bama ain't did nothing for that, man. What do you mean? He's trying to get you to stop trying to be black, which puts you in the codes. It's an agreement. You can't transact business in another man's name, sign another man's name, and then take on a tag that he created that takes you out of the human family. The state cheats every damn thing you got. That's how they've been screwing you. And if you understand that much, just historically, the average person, you wouldn't have to tell them they're Moors. They'll find out themselves. Take you to a child's dictionary and show you that they're Moors. I mean, well, go ahead.